Welcome back, brother. Congratulations. You made it until now, module 12. Okay, so let's start today with our voicing technique to free our mind a little bit and focus on the breathing. Just make sure you're sitting relaxed, your belly is not tense, your spine is straight, not like too much tense, but just a relaxed position. And if you have some tension in your belly, relax it, release your belt if you have. Close your eyes. Now let's do a few breathings. Inhale from the nose, exhale from the mouth. This will relax us even more. Try to have your inhalations long and deep. And starting with the next exhalation, we're going to add some voicing to our breath. We're going to go raw, we're going to go wild, express our true masculine nature. Great. Now slowly come back. So far you learned a lot of great techniques and approaches into Tantra that can uplift your sexuality, double, triple, 10 times fold your intercourse time. So I hope that has been useful, brother. I hope you are developing yourself, you're improving yourself, and your partner is also happy. You are having more freedom and happiness in your life. I would like to make this module dedicated to something that is somehow even more important than pleasure, I would say, in my perspective, which is love. Because at the end of the day, if your life is missing love, your life is not fully fulfilled. And Tantra is very much about love. But I'm not going to teach you like a moral teacher on just love yourself, love thy neighbor, love your partner. I would say on the contrary that the love would come up naturally and spontaneously based on a pretty successful tantric practice. I mean, a good sex life and a good practice of sperm retention and tantric transformation and sublimation automatically brings up this opening of the heart, and you're loving yourself more, you're loving your partner more, and you're loving life in general more. Okay, so this is kind of the ultimate goal in Tantra. And this is not, love doesn't always go together with sex. But sex it's a conscious experience in Tantra. Remember, it's an energetic and spiritual experience which inevitably awakens the love in you. Love is basically the absence of the minds. And how we come to the absence of the minds? We come to it by the intensity of the experience. Okay, sex and the pleasure and the sexual experience itself, when it is so strong, you can't think anymore. You don't even remember your name, right? In the moment of an orgasm, like let's think about an ejaculatory orgasm, that is normally so intense that we can't even talk, we can't even think. We don't even remember our names in that moment. We are transfiguring ourselves. So, and when you have this experience, when you have this energetic feeling, intensity in a strong way for a long period of time, not talking about 10 seconds, I'm talking about 1 minute and more. Remember this pleasure curve, you're going up and down, up and down. At some point, your brain starts releasing so much hormones that you feel so happy that at some point you can't think anymore. It's ecstasy. So orgasm is a kind of ecstasy, it's a cosmic ecstasy in a way, okay? And love is a result of this as well, you know? It's impossible after some time, after a couple of weeks or months of having experiences, it's impossible not to have love, maybe even on the first experiences. But love itself is not linked with sex. Some people, especially some mystics of the history, they've written amazing poetry about love, how love it is, how love is so strong, and not just loving a person, but loving all people, or loving the creation itself, loving the nature itself, is a unique experience. Not everybody come to experience this kind of strong love, but these, especially from the Sufi tradition, there are a lot of mystics that have experienced this, and Rumi is one of the most famous ones, and he come up with amazing poetry. And there's probably no sex in this love that he's experiencing. Maybe there is, like we don't know, we haven't been in his private life. But most of these mystics, they describe love in a different way. So love can be achieved without sex, okay? And maybe you don't have a sex life, but you can still achieve love. You can achieve it through your solo practice as well. Your solo practice gives you this ecstasy in your body, in yourself. I strongly recommend that. But look at love as a different subject as well. They are linked sometimes, and they are sometimes not linked. For example, there could be sex without love, which is very popular in today's world, unfortunately. Because sex without love is not a good sign of a healthy psychology, I think. Especially if it's for a long term. I mean, here and there, once in a while, having some fun, one-night stands, it's totally fine. Or you're just finding a new partner and you're not sure if you're going to fall in love with her, you're having some sex a few times. But if it's a long relationship, or if it's constantly living a life like that with sex without love, that's kind of pathetic in a way. So sorry for my judgment here, but it's kind of true. So sex and love are two different things. But in Tantra, the goal is to unite them. We are not just a mystic here. We are not just a Sufi practitioner that is working on the heart, opening our heart, which is great, by the way. Or we are not just a sex maniac and like a porn star and fucking all the time. We can fuck like a king and love like Buddha. So, but this is not by pushing, this is not by forcing, it's not by thinking, oh, this is the way it is, you know, like I'm not teaching a mentality here. I'm not even teaching something, I'm just sharing with you that this is possible if the foundation is built well, okay? The rest of it comes normally. So if you have a very strong chemistry with a girl, with a woman, and you start having sex, and you do it in the tantric way as much as possible, it will result with love anyhow. She will fall in love with you, you will fall in love with her. And the true love is not this romantic love that we see in the Hollywood movies, you know, like, oh, so much attachment, you know, like, oh, you're the love of my life, you know, like, I don't know what will I do if you die or if you leave me, you know, like, this is neediness, this is attachment. True love is not like that. there's a description of different levels of love, and the ultimate level is love in despite of, love in spite of. So somebody, our partner, can give us a hell, give us really bad time, and can you still love her despite that she's acting to you in this way? Of course, I'm not talking about lowering yourself. I'm not saying, oh, you got to be a masochist emotionally and you just need to suffer all your life. Sometimes it's beneficial to suffer a little bit. It will humble ourselves. It's a means of spiritual evolution, but I'm not talking about chronic suffering, chronic masochism. So if you love this person, maybe she's acting you like your shit. Can you tolerate that? Can you still be with her? Maybe you respect yourself so much and you're going to leave her, but you can still love her. That's something else. Maybe after 6 months or 1 year, she will understand something and she'll say, oh, he was appreciating me so much. And I was like a stupid girl, and maybe she will come back to you. And if your love is still there, you will embrace her. Of course, if you're not in love with someone else. So the idea of this high love is something very precious. Let's call it universal love, okay? Because when you're loving in this state, you're not just loving a person, as I said. You love the plants and the cats and the flowers and the nature and the mountains and the rivers. The whole humanity can be your subject of love. I mean, maybe you're not always in this state, but you can have it as an emotion once in a while, here and there. If you have it, that's wonderful. Just be aware of it. You know, like you will maybe lose it. Maybe you will at some point hate humanity. You know, you're going to start hating everyone and everything. Right? That's also fine. Like whatever emotion you're having, be honest with yourself. I'm just saying that there's a difference between what we see on the television series and soap operas, and movies, this kind of low attached love. I'm not talking about this love, I'm talking about something more transcendent. As Rumi says, lover and the beloved become one in this kind of love. So you melt with your partner. When you're fucking with her, you're like, you don't know who's fucking who. You're like completely into each other's energy, into each other's body. And maybe even without physical contact, when you're away, you can remember her, you can have telepathic connections with her. And when you're sitting in the same room with her, you can maybe do a transfiguration, you're like melting into each other's energy. You know, like there could be so much feeling of union in this kind of loving experiences. And intensity of tantric sex also brings that, okay? So the intensity of this orgasmic experiences, valley orgasms, like long-term penetration without end, like it will blow your mind in a way, so you will become mindless in a certain state. And this is like your whole separation, your boundaries are melting. That you don't know where's your body starting, where's your identity starting and ending, you know? So, and this kind of reminds me of the polarity aspect as well. Polarity is in the all levels of the universe, you know? Let's call it sexuality in all levels of the universe. From atoms to stars, for example, there's the proton, which is positive, and in the nucleus of the atom, and the electrons are having a negative force. The plus and the minus, the magnetic poles, for example, and the Earth and the stars and even our galaxy has magnetic poles. So our biology is based on this as well. When you look at all the species on the planet, like most of them, I mean, even plants have polarity, right? They have gender. They're males and females, and they're polarizing each other. And this is how, of course, then the sperm or the pollens travel from male to the female, and then there's this different types of production, right? But basically, it's all based on male and female. Like we are here, every one of us are here on this planet, on this life, because we have a mother and a father. Like there's nobody so far that have come to this earth without a mother and a father, except Jesus Christ. You know, like nobody was there. We are not even sure. I'm respecting Christianity, but this is a myth in the end of the day. So, But we are all having mothers and fathers. We come here by sex. We are sexual beings. We are coming out of sex. So sex is our nature. And the polarity is the main principle, the dynamic into our sexuality. And the Taoist masters of ancient China, they were so aware of this. And they would describe everything by polarity. You know, the earth is yin, feminine, and the sky is yang, for example. It's the father's sky. You can see it in shamanism as well. So they call it yin and yang. And it's in this famous symbol, the Tao, or the Tao, as they mostly pronounce in English. It means the way. It's the way. So there are the light and the dark aspects. The light is the yang and the dark is the yin, the feminine. And there is as you see, a small circle of black in the white and a small circle of white in the black. So it's a holographic thing. It's not completely polarized. We also have an inner feminine. We can see that here as men, and a woman have an inner masculine as well, like to put it very simply. So, and what happens during sex is that it's like this electric current, right? It's flowing from one pole to the another. So we are attracting our opposite in this way. So the more masculine you are, the more feminine woman you want to meet in your life. You want to have sex with. And in our today's modern world, a lot of people lose this polarity, especially in the Western world with the feminism. Women start becoming more masculine, men start becoming more feminine. According to David Deida, a very famous tantric teacher and author, this is like the second stage. In the first stage, the polarity was strong, the old role models of our grandparents. But with the feminism, we are mostly on the second stage. But this is not satisfying. The spike, the electricity is lost here. Okay, so the third stage is where, as a man, I claim my masculinity. I know I have a feminine inside. I can cry, I can be emotional if necessary. But when I'm interacting with a woman, I'm on my third stage. I'm a masculine man, I'm present. Remember the previous module, I'm Shiva. And she is feminine. She can have a great career. She is very masculine at his work. Maybe she's a CEO. But when it comes to relationship, I'm not asking her which movie let's watch tonight. I'm saying, okay, let's go to this movie. Okay, or pack your case and just don't ask me any questions. We're gonna have a holiday for a week. Just take your passport and case. Be ready tomorrow morning. Something like that. You know, women like these kind of things. You know, you're like leading her in the tango dance. You know, like this is, even if they are very rich, very successful, very powerful, they like to be led by a strong and present man. So this is the cultural aspect of it, how we manifest this in the dating life, in the flirting. But when it comes to sex, this masculine energy and feminine energy, when they come together, because the masculine and feminine cannot fully come together during dancing, right? Or when we are in the movies or when we are flirting with each other. It completely dissolves into the sexual activity, you know, like when we are penetrating her, the energy exchange is full on. There's no boundaries, there's no clothes, right? So, and there something special happens. And according to Taoists, this is a complete, it's opening to a complete new reality, which is there's nothingness. Because there was the masculine and the feminine. And when they come together, it creates this zero. Like plus and minus, they come to with plus 7, came with minus 7. And what happens mathematically? It's 0, right? And 0, even the number itself is like a hole. It's like opening to something, or the circle is closed. You know, it's like the Tao symbol as well. So, and they call it Wu Wei, nothingness. Nothing. You come to nothingness. And it sounds like nothing? I'm going to get nothing out of this? Yes, brother, you will get nothing. But that nothingness will give you everything. Imagine you want to drink some nice cup of coffee and you have a cup, right? And if my cup is full, I cannot put more coffee in it or tea. I need to empty my cup so I can drink something later on. it's like this. Our consciousness, our mind, our brain is full of thoughts, right? We are thinking all the time. It's always full with something. But when I'm not talking about sleeping. Mostly we are unconscious during sleep. If you can sleep consciously fully, and that's a yogic path, by the way, that's wonderful. But if you can have sex consciously, if you can orgasm consciously, and let go of all these boundaries and melt with your partner, and the electricity is like fully on and coming to this nothingness, bringing you this nothingness, then you can have everything. It's like enlightenment. And we see it in the different spiritual traditions. According to the yogis, this is shunya, the void, according to Buddhists, or the opening of the crown chakra, the sahasrara. And it really brings us a spiritual experience. It's like a mystical experience. A lot of mystics experience this. And in Tantra, we do it by completely having a union with our partner, completely unifying the plus and the minus, the male and the female energies. It's a kind of dying, actually, okay? It's again, to talk a little bit metaphysically, it's the non-manifestation. We come to experience and consciously perceive a state of non-manifestation. Everything else is manifested, right? Emotions, thoughts, pleasure, everything, life is full of things. But there's also this emptiness and nothingness. And that's kind of dying in a way. And even the sexologists call the orgasm or the ejaculation the petit mort in French, which means the little death. Like every time, even if it's tantric or not, if you ejaculate, it's a death, it's a kind of dying, little death. And in Tantra, we want to take this little death and make it a big death. Die consciously, okay? Again, Tibetans talk about dying in the right way. They have a famous art of dying. It's a whole path in itself. There's a book called Bardo Todol, and they always talk about how to die consciously, how to prepare for a beautiful death. You know, like in our modern secular world, death is like, oh my God, dead, and that's the end of the story. You know, like, okay, I don't claim to be dogmatic, but the yogis who experience these kind of things, they talk about having a preparation for death and how significant it is. And if you look at it in the Egyptians and the Mayas, they all talk about it. So the orgasm is a kind of dying. And if you orgasm in the right way, it will open your heart, it will open your consciousness, you will experience something that you have never experienced before. Okay, and for me personally, it's so strong that even some psychedelic experience, some drug experience is not as strong. Okay, so because it's your whole energy, which we call kundalini, it's becoming awakened from the root of your body, from your root chakra, and it moves up and it comes to your head, your top of your head, and it creates this amazing mystical experiences. So you need to have your energy full on. This is the secret, okay? I know it's like too much theory, maybe too much information for you right now. It's okay, you can listen to this video again and you can take the notes. And but the point here is that I just want to give you what is above and beyond, right? You know, like so far you learn how to have sex, you learn how to improve your sexual performance, but don't stop there, okay? There's an amazing world beyond it. So if you have your energy full on, which means you're not ejaculating, for example, and if you're not ejaculating, let's say 3, 4, 5 times when you have sex in a couple of weeks, and one day it can click and that can come at some point because you're accumulating so much energy. That's why the foundation is important. So it's kind of meditating into an orgasm. So when you get started with Tantra, you will see that whatever sexual experiences you had before, they will be pale compared to what is going to happen to you or what is already happening to you. By the way, if you have a lot of libido, a lot of desire, that's also a very good thing in Tantra. Because this is like the fuel of these experiences. the Tantric spiritualists will say that if you have a lot of desire, that desire to have sex, to fuck that girl, is a great energy source, which can also, I'm not saying don't do it as well, but that can also turn into a desire to experience truth, a desire to experience a higher state of being, desire to experience universal love, or desire to experience divinity, loving God if you're a religious person or a spiritual person. So there's nothing wrong with that, basically. All right, so the homework for this module is do one or more of these things. Okay, find out and read about Sufi poetry. Coleman Barks is a great translator of Rumi. You can start with that. So basically, Google Sufi poetry and buy the first book that comes up, or buy the first 3 books that comes up. Or read Osho on sex and superconsciousness. And he will also explain to you in a very beautiful, poetic way almost, how sex can turn into means of experiencing superconsciousness. Or again, you can, if you're interested, read about Tibetan art of dying. That's really a very inspiring path, and I love to talk about this subject, so maybe you will also enjoy it. All right, brother. So this has been module 12. You're going great. We're going to have one more module, and that's going to be great as well. I hope it will help you with your evolution. So I'll see you next time.